In the depths of the Cold War, the world teetered on the brink of nuclear catastrophe, as the United States and the Soviet Union engaged in a high-stakes game of cat and mouse. Beneath the waves, a silent yet deadly struggle unfolded, as submarines from both superpowers stalked their prey, ever vigilant and always ready to strike. It was an era of unprecedented tension, as the two nations clashed in a battle of wills, each seeking to outmaneuver the other in the dark, mysterious expanse of the ocean. In the early 1960s, the Soviet Union had begun to assert its dominance in the submarine arena, launching a fleet of advanced diesel-electric boats that could remain submerged for extended periods, their air-independent propulsion systems allowing them to evade detection with ease. Meanwhile, the United States had responded with the development of its own nuclear-powered submarines, the vaunted Los Angeles class, whose incredible speed and endurance made them the envy of the Soviet Navy. As the years passed, the stakes continued to escalate, with both sides engaging in an escalating series of confrontations and provocations, each pushing the other to the limits of its patience and resolve. It was against this backdrop of rising tensions that one of the most dramatic and potentially catastrophic confrontations of the Cold War would unfold, a submarine standoff that would test the mettle of both nations and bring the world to the very edge of disaster. The technological gap between the two nations was narrowing rapidly, as the Soviet Union's advancements in submarine design and construction began to rival those of the United States. One of the key factors contributing to this shift was the development of the Soviet Navy's Akula-class submarines, a new generation of attack boats that boasted a range of cutting-edge features, including advanced propeller designs, sophisticated sonar systems, and significantly improved noise reduction capabilities. These innovations allowed the Akulas to operate with unprecedented stealth, making them formidable opponents in the underwater arena. Furthermore, the Akulas were equipped with state-of-the-art missile systems, including the SS-N-19 shipwreck anti-ship cruise missile, which granted them the capability to engage targets at ranges of up to 550 kilometers. This combination of advanced sensors, quiet propulsion, and lethal firepower made the Akula-class submarines a force to be reckoned with, and a significant challenge to the dominance of the U.S. Navy's Los Angeles-class boats. As the Akulas began to enter service in the late 1980s, the U.S. Navy was forced to re-evaluate its own submarine capabilities, and to consider new tactics and strategies for countering the emerging threat posed by these advanced Soviet boats. The Akula-class submarines, with their advanced features and capabilities, presented a significant challenge to the U.S. Navy, but like any complex system, they were not without their weaknesses. One of the primary limitations of the Akulas was their reliance on a traditional diesel-electric propulsion system, which, despite the advanced propeller designs, still generated a significant amount of noise when operating at high speeds. This made them vulnerable to detection by advanced U.S. sonar systems, particularly those employed by the Los Angeles-class boats. Additionally, the Akula's advanced sensors and fire control systems were highly dependent on complex computer algorithms and sophisticated software, which, while highly effective, were also susceptible to malfunction and interference. Furthermore, the Akula's size and complexity made them difficult and expensive to produce, limiting the Soviet Navy's ability to field a large number of these boats. Despite these limitations, however, the Akulas remained a formidable force, and their advanced capabilities and stealth characteristics made them a significant threat to U.S. naval supremacy. The U.S. Navy was forced to carefully consider these strengths and weaknesses when developing strategies to counter the Akula-class submarines, and to adapt its own tactics and technologies to effectively counter this emerging threat. In the frigid waters of the North Atlantic, a tense standoff unfolded between the United States and the Soviet Union, as the Akula-class submarines played a pivotal role in the cat-and-mouse game of Cold War naval warfare. On a typical mission, an Akula would depart from its Arctic base, navigating through the icy fjords and into the open ocean, where it would assume a stealthy patrol posture, utilizing its advanced sensors and quiet propulsion system to remain undetected. Meanwhile, U.S. Los Angeles-class attack submarines, supported by P-3 Orion maritime patrol aircraft and surface ships, would conduct aggressive surveillance operations, attempting to detect and track the Akula's movements. The Akula's advanced sensors and fire control systems allowed it to remain a formidable opponent, capable of launching a devastating salvo of torpedoes or missiles at unsuspecting U.S. warships. The U.S. Navy responded by implementing innovative tactics, such as the use of advanced sonobuoys and towed array sonar systems, designed to detect and classify the Akula's acoustic signature. This delicate game of underwater hide-and-seek pushed both navies to their limits, testing the mettle of their respective submarine designs and the skills of their crews. The Akula's advanced sensors and fire control systems, combined with the innovative tactics employed by the U.S. Navy, created a highly dynamic and unpredictable environment, where the slightest miscalculation could prove disastrous. As the Akula-class submarines continued to probe the defenses of the U.S. naval forces, the U.S. Navy responded by refining its anti-submarine warfare doctrine, placing increased emphasis on coordinated, multi-platform operations. The use of advanced sonobuoys and towed array sonar systems allowed the U.S. Navy to gradually improve its detection and classification capabilities, slowly but surely eroding the Akula's stealth advantage. However, the Soviet Union countered by implementing its own set of countermeasures, including the development of advanced decoy systems and more sophisticated evasion tactics, designed to saturate and overwhelm the U.S. Navy's detection capabilities. This escalating cycle of measure and countermeasure pushed both navies to the limits of their technological and operational capabilities, as they struggled to gain a decisive advantage in the underwater domain. The delicate balance of power was further complicated by the geopolitical tensions of the time, as the Cold War rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union continued to simmer just below the surface. As the Cold War drew to a close, the submarine standoff between the United States and the Soviet Union gradually subsided, leaving behind a legacy of technological innovation and operational sophistication. The cat-and-mouse game played out in the depths of the ocean had pushed both navies to the limits of their capabilities, driving the development of advanced sensors, decoy systems, and evasion tactics. In the end, it was not a decisive victory that brought an end to the standoff, but rather a gradual shift in the global geopolitical landscape. The collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 marked the beginning of a new era of international relations, one in which the threat of nuclear war was no longer a dominant concern. Yet, the technological and operational lessons learned during the submarine standoff of the Cold War continue to shape the naval strategies of major powers to this day. As the world looks out upon the increasingly complex and contested underwater domain of the 21st century,